Sando, just in terms of training, everyone get through okay? Any concerns at the moment with anyone?
No, not from the game. We subbed out Van Berlo during the match because he had a nasty cork sort of on his thigh or hip, but he's fine. He'll certainly play this week.
In terms of changes, do you have much you're thinking about from form, perhaps from the game at all?
It's a difficult one. Yeah, we haven't had match committee yet. We'll have that this afternoon, so we'll finalise our side before we travel on Friday morning. But most of the guys got through the game okay. Paul Pleasure should come back into the side. He ticked all the boxes today, so there'll be at least one change, I guess, from the side that beat Port. So expect one or two changes, I guess, at a max.
Sam Shaw, is he close or still?
Really close, but only started running today, so it'd be too much to risk, I think, to play him this week. He'll probably be one more week and be available for the Geelong match the week after, but I think at this stage, Paul Pleasure will be the only one to come back into the side.
Paul's have a special workout out there, give the shoulder a going on?
He trained with the group. We did the whole session. We didn't do much today, being a 6-day break and coming off a hard match on the weekend, very physical, contested game, and we know we're going to get that this week in Sydney. So the boys didn't do much from a physical point of view, but Porps will do his own little session tomorrow, which will involve some competitive stuff and some tackling just to test his shoulder out.
So Chris Knight's, where's he at the moment?
He hasn't played the last 2 weeks. He had a slight adductor strain. I think it'd be too much to risk to bring him straight back in this week, but he'll probably play in the SANFL this week.
So you'll probably, in match committee today, talk about obviously put Ports in your side and then just testing tomorrow, see how we come through those rules.
Yeah, exactly. We'll pick 2 sides, which we often do anyway. We pick 2 or 3 different sides with certain guys who've got niggles, and once they tick all the boxes, then we finalise the 22. I mean, last week we sort of gave it right up to the final 90 minutes before the game before we were comfortable in the side that we had, and I think as the season goes along, you often have those challenges where you can't finalise the team until almost right before the bounce.
Reviewing Sydney, I'm sure you have been during this week. What have you noticed about them?
They're a good side. They've got a really good balance of really hard inside midfielders. They love that contested style of the game, and they've got the outside speed as well. Guys like McGlynn and Jetta who can get you outside. Shaw, Malcheski, who've got outside speed. So it'll be a good challenge for us because they're the number 1 contested ball side. We're the number 2 contested ball side. So expect a contest. Expect it hard inside. We'll try and match them with some outside speed as well.
Just make sure that you don't let what happened against Hawthorn happen again against the top 4 side.
Yeah, it's a disappointing one because we've won 9 from 10 games, and the game that we're most disappointed about is the loss to obviously Hawthorn, which we were disappointing in a lot of different areas. And as I say, every week we're looking at ways to improve the group, and we learn a lot from that Hawthorn loss. But even on the weekend, we still learn a lot about the way that we play, and we're not out of the woods yet. Even though we've had some good wins along the way, we still feel that we've got a long way left to improve.
So how significant is this game? Obviously, Swans have been flying. They towed Hawthorn up last weekend. What will this say about the Crows?
It's a good question because I think every week's a challenge in a different way. Whether you're playing one of the bottom sides or one of the top sides, you're obviously trying to get the win first of all, but still play a way that you're looking to play long term. So we won't change the way we play too much in playing against the Swans, but we understand that there's certain things that we do really well that they'll have to try and beat us at, and there's certain things that they do really well which we'll have to be ready for. So it doesn't matter who you play. Every week's a challenge. Every week is going to be tough, and it's the beauty of our sport is that you have a good win, and then you've got to front up 6 days later and take on another top side. So that's the challenge for this group this week, is to put last week behind us and get on with a fresh challenge.
There's the old cliche of the 1 week at a time sort of stuff, but given what you've got in the next 5 weeks to that midpoint of the season, have you got a rough one in your mind? Hey, look, if you can pencil in 2 or 3 wins here, that'd be nice. Or have you even get a chance to think like that?
No, unfortunately we don't. For the group anyway, we don't speak about the next 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, but we really focus on the next game at hand, which for us is Sydney. 5-0, number 1 contested ball side. Some great challenges for us this week. Going to the SCG, small ground where it's going to be contested anyway. It won't be a game that will certainly try any tricks. It'll just be hard, contested at the footy.
What do you think we'll learn then about your side in the next 5 weeks? I mean, you arguably face 5 top 6, 7 sides. I mean, what will we learn about your footy club?
We'll learn how we match up against the top 4 sides. We've had one opportunity to do that against Hawthorn, and we didn't take our opportunities. But yeah, they get tough from here on in. But I'll say it again: every game you play is tough. Doesn't matter who you come up against. There's certain challenges that we have to face, and we'll play this game against the Swans, and then we'll talk about Geelong next week. But it's a long, hard season. There's no easy games anymore, and doesn't matter who you play. It's going to be tough.
Adelaide has an amazing record against Sydney. Is that relevant at all?
It is for the group because they get confidence in going and playing against certain sides. Some sides, I know Graham mentioned it yesterday, there's just some sides you feel you match up really well against, and I know Sydney is like that for Adelaide. Adelaide have had a good record against Sydney, even away, so it suits us to play a contested brand of footy. That's the way we like it at the moment, so it shouldn't be a game that we fear.
So you need to beat one of these teams to really gain the respect of the league?
I don't think so. I don't think we need to beat every team we try and play against. We don't think, this is a game that we can play poorly in and everyone will forgive us because it's a top side. We certainly go into every game expecting to win and play well. Sometimes we'll be good enough and we'll win. Other times we'll play really well and we just won't be good enough. What we've got to try and eliminate from this group is that we play poorly against the good sides because you just lose no matter what. But if we play well enough and if we play as hard as we can and we're not good enough, then we have to live with it. But at times, I think we'll take it right up to these top 4 sides.
You touched on Graham yesterday. Obviously, it was very glowingly speaking of you, and I mean, hardly surprising you're the boss, I suppose. I'm going to come out and bag you, but privately indoors as a first-year coach, are you getting much feedback? I wouldn't say negative, but constructive feedback that you need to improve on from the players? Because everything we hear, it's a very glossy sort of look for you at the moment.
Yeah, I get feedback every week. We have a leadership meeting each week with the leadership group, there's 5 of those boys, and they're pretty honest in their feedback for me. A couple of times they've mentioned areas that I can improve on, and I mention areas that they can improve on too. You know, I thought it was great on the weekend when our skipper was subbed off. The boys needed a lift at 3/4 time, and you had Rutten and Thompson pull the group in together after I'd spoken to the boys, and then we saw that fantastic last quarter. So there's ways that the leaders can also improve, but also too they give me really good feedback too. And as you know, I'm first to admit when I make mistakes, and I'm not going to try and sweep them under the carpet and look for shifting the blame. There's times that I have to improve as well. So I'm open as well for feedback as it comes.
Where can you improve at the moment?
What's that?
Where can you improve at the moment?
It's a work in progress without a doubt through the whole coaching group. There's lots of areas that I still have to work on. You know, without going into specific details, there's things I'm learning every day, and it's a really easy group to work with because they're really good at listening and they take information on board and they try and change it out on the field. But we've still got a long way to go.
Just digressing on a bit more of a national front, I suppose, the match review panel probably not the best of trots. I think maybe 4 cases overturned. What's your take on how the match review panel is travelling? Do you think it's getting it right at the moment?
It's a difficult one because it's a really hard job. There's so many grey issues in our sport that there's just not any like a black and white answer where you just know, okay, that one's definitely going to be a 2-weeker or that one's going to be a 3-weeker. It's they're doing a really good job in trying to eliminate the greyness, but there's just going to be times when we're going to be confused as spectators or coaches. But I think they're doing a good job in trying to get it right. But there's always going to be times when I think it's just a little bit confusing for us on the outside.
So fair to say then, it's maybe just a bad trot more so than a holistic issue?
We've all got our strong opinions. I'm sure there's some people that think they're doing a fantastic job with certain cases and others are really scratching their heads. So every case is different. They're very unique in that sense, and you can't have almost a matrix set up that, you know, the high contact, whether it was intentional, all those things. You know, it's really difficult sometimes for the AFL to work out a matrix system that just identifies every incident as being, you know, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, whatever it is. There's going to be always a certain amount of greyness that we just can't remove.
So you mentioned contested ball earlier. I mean, how big a focus has that been for you in your first year here, and are you pleased with the way the club's going in that regard?
Yeah, well, for me that was the number one. That's been the number one area that we wanted to improve on from last year. Feel like we've ticked that box. There's still a way to go. So now from that it evolves. So from contested ball and being harder at the contest, now we evolve the game plan into where we want to go. So fix up that first, which is what we've done. Now sustain it against the top 4 sides. Does it hold up in the big stage? I think we saw a bit of that on the weekend. And now the game plan evolves from there. So keep it really simple initially, and now look to make adjustments along the way.
Do you feel the club lacked in that area last year?
Oh, the numbers said it did, yeah. I mean, the numbers were in the bottom half. At the moment, we're in the top 2. We're really proud of that. It's something that we'll try and maintain for the whole season.
Does everyone's game start with contested footy, basically? If you can't get that, the rest of the game falls apart?
A little bit. I think there's not many sides that win consistently and lose contested ball. And that's, if you ask the other 17 senior coaches, I'm sure they'd agree with that. It's a pretty common theme across the league. You can't win too many big games by losing contested ball, so that's an area that we'll focus on. And like I said, we'll just keep that really simple.
So that means you try and beat Sydney at their own game. That's the only way to beat them, you think?
You've got to match them. It's difficult to beat Sydney at contested ball just because of their style. I mean, look at their inside midfielders, you know, they're as good as you get. If we can try and beat them, at worst match them, we'll certainly be in the game.
You mentioned the players like Jetta and McLean and that sort of blistering speed. Can you go with that? How do you curb that?
Yeah, we can. You have to be smart with how you set up with your starting positions initially too, but if you can cut off the source, like we mentioned, breaking even at contested ball, trying to win contested ball, and just have really good method outside the contest, you know, doesn't matter who you are, sometimes you can't keep up with Jetta if he gets time and space, but at the same time, if we set up structurally outside the contest where we can keep him goal side, then I think we're halfway there.
How dangerous is it to let him go?
Yeah, you can't let him go. I mean, we've got some guys with speed as well. I'm not saying that we can't match him, but yeah, you just can't give him too much time and space, particularly at the SCG. If you get the ball outside, such a small ground, the ball can go from one end to the other pretty quickly.
So where's this Crow side rate in terms of development for the young Geelong sides that you were a part of?
It's too tough to call, yeah. Very different sides, Geelong was very unique. You know, they almost started from scratch in 2000, built the club up through, you know, drafting young talent and developing them. So we're heading down that path. I guess time will tell where we end up if we can match Geelong in that regard. But yeah, I wouldn't compare them. It's too different, two unique situations.
When do you expect this club to be at its peak, though, under your development? How many years before do you reckon they'll be at the top?
Can't put a timeline on it. We'll just look for continual improvement. Some weeks we'll see really good games against good sides. Other weeks, because of the age profile of our group, we'll see some inconsistencies of performance. But hopefully we can keep that continual improvement along the way.
You're already buoyant by the start, though. Do you think they're ahead of where you thought they might have been when you took the job on at 4-1?
Yeah, well, 4-1, 9 from 10, NAB Cup final. All those things have been really good. We can't complain. So I think we're where we hoped we would be, if that makes sense. We're happy where we are, but we understand that we've still got a long way to go.
Do you out and out tag Kennedy? Is that something that you need to do because the way he's been going in the first 5 rounds?
Yeah, we rate Kennedy big time. He's playing some great footy. His ability to win contests, get forward and kick goals. He's a tall, aggressive midfielder, which you know, don't grow on trees. So he'll be certainly one player that we'll have a really tight check on.
Given Sydney's focus on the stoppage, is the ruck somewhere where you think that you can dominate, especially with Mumford out?
Yeah, Mumford out's a loss for them. You know, Seaby's no slouch, though. He plays the ruck as good as anyone over the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, with us, with Jacobs, who's a fantastic young ruckman. McKernan was jumping well in the centre bounce on the weekend. So and Tippett can ruck as well. So we'll take some tall boys up there and try and get an advantage in the ruck. But you're right, that's one thing that Sydney do really well. Their stoppage structures, their hardness inside will be a great challenge for this group.
Do you need McKernan helping out on the smaller ground up there?
Not sure. I think we do, yeah. I mean, we haven't had match committee yet, but I like Sean's game on the weekend. I thought he jumped really well and provided a nice chop out for Jacobs. That'd be too much to ask Jacobs to ruck 22 rounds for us this season without having someone coming in and giving him some help. So I liked McKernan on the weekend, so I'm sure his name or his magnet will be up on the board come Saturday night.
How important is Porks to you, team?
He's really important for us. He just provides that difficult match-up for the opposition. So he's so clean at ground level and he can mark the ball overhead. We're looking to use him a bit more in some midfield roles as well. So when he's in the side, we certainly look better.
Patrick Dangerfield, how good could he be?
He's already very good. I'm not sure what his ceiling is. We watched some footage in our review yesterday, you know, where he's just his speed and his hardness. He could be very good, yeah.
Massive game for him though, coming off such a huge breakout game, even though he's had a good season already, but to back it up is really the test.
Yeah, huge game for him, but huge game for the rest of the 22 as well, for the other 21 players as well, because the mark of a good side is that you have a good win and you back it up 6 days later against another good side. So we're not looking for any fluctuations in our form. We've just got to get back out there and almost replicate what you saw on Sunday.
Just on two of the high-profile blokes coming out of contract, Tippett and Dangerfield. I know it's not your portfolio as such, but at what point, if not already, do you step in as senior coach and say, have a quiet word, put a bit of heat on them to put pen to paper, so to speak? Yeah, it's not my role, obviously, to get too much involved with the contract negotiations, but all I can provide is an environment that the boys enjoy being around, and I think we're seeing that from Kurt and also Danger at the moment, that the boys enjoying their footy, they're both playing well, they're in good form. The rest is up to them, I guess, and their management groups to find a middle ground where every party's happy. So that's the challenge with signing or re-signing your best players, is to ensure that we're all happy, and hopefully from their point of view the boys are enjoying their footy and enjoying what we're providing for them. But you're not the kind of bloke that will even in jest have a one-line, or what I'm saying is just maybe give it a bit of a hurry along, so to speak.
No, not really. No, I don't think so. I mean, hopefully the boys both decide to stay, and they want to be involved in a club that's on the way up and going to play consistent finals footy down the track.
Have you looked at the free agents that are available? Have you looked that far ahead already?
Yeah, we've got people working at that behind the scenes, but yeah, I've had a look at the free agents, and it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I know we look at the news and stories about what other clubs might be doing and players that are coming out and what's available, but we'll talk about that, I think, later in the year.
How important is it to keep both of those blokes, Danger and Tippett?
I would love to keep them both. If they both left, it would be shattering for the footy club. We'd have to start again in some areas, but that's something we'll talk about later in the year.
If one left, it would still be, I guess, shattering?
Yeah, I'd love for them both to stay, yeah. It'd be very important if they both stay.